Everyone. Welcome to a Paranormal Mediums. And I'm here with my lovely hostess. I don't know where that was coming from. My co-host here, Julie Starr, and myself, Theon. And we're here for another night of paranormal fun. Hey there, Julie. And
Hello.
hi there. And tonight we're going to be doing live mediumship readings. So please feel free to put any questions that you have into the chat. And we're going to talk about some very cool stories that Julie has with some of the spirits that hang on or hang around her house.
Well, I have some experiences. I also have a UFO. I have a few
Ooh,
UFO experiences, but I have one that you've heard that
yes.
I'll tell about too.
Yeah.
Um, hey Theon, what
Yes.
is your favorite Christmas movie?
Oh, A Christmas Story, of course.
Oh, with the Red Ryder BB gun.
Yes, with a
Oh,
compass in the stock.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I besides It's a Wonderful Life, for me, I love that one with Jimmy Stewart and the Guardian Angel.
Yes.
I love that's I have to watch that every year, but I also have to watch A Christmas Carol. But I like the one with Patrick Stewart in it because it's the ghosts of Christmas past, present, and future.
I love that one too. And oddly enough, I loved the Scrooged version with what's his name?
Bill
Um
Murray.
Bill Murray, yes.
Oh yeah, so it's that time of year for some movies like
Yes.
that.
I can't believe it's already almost December, and it feels like we were just in summer.
I know, year is
Yeah.
flying for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's funny, during Christmas time, that's I always feel like not just spirits, but like family, everybody's active, more active during this summer, the winter months than they are even in summer, especially here in Florida. It's too hot
Uh,
in Florida. And
the
we
spirits,
actually
they don't like the heat, do they?
no, no. And what's weird is there's been a great deal of activity around my house.
Hmm.
I have that portal that is, right on my
Oh,
stairs.
right.
Um the craziest thing, every I keep seeing people again still on the stairs, but the other night I was in my room and I just saw this like not, I wouldn't say black shadow, but it kind of, I mean, it was just like this dark energy, not, I hate to say dark energy because people always think it's bad. It definitely didn't feel bad.
Doesn't have to be bad.
Yeah. And it just shot from the stairwell, like the wall that faces the stairwell, down into the room. It was really interesting. But
Interesting.
yeah, I've been getting that a lot lately. And, even my dog Anna has been getting into it too, and like seeing people. And I'm telling you, um I think it's when, during Christmas time or something, maybe that brings people closer.
Hmm.
It could be. But yeah, I'm seeing a lot of transient spirits. So who
Hmm.
knows? How is it for you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, same. It's the same year round for me around here. It's the
Yeah.
same. I just see them. And see, I have a pathway through my house, and it actually goes like right here. There's a pathway, and I capture them on video because I've got my infrared camera set up over here, and they just like shoot through, and they'll be like at the ceiling, and just shoot through. And I sit right here on my couch, and that's where I do grading papers, because I teach psychology,
Yeah.
to community colleges now online, and where I do some of my other like remote viewing work. And sometimes, they interfere and they're just passing through,
That's
So, and I have that portal in the wall that the Native American comes through. I have him
I
on.
was Yeah, I
Yeah,
was
and
just gonna say that.
I figured it out. We were doing a remote viewing for psychic detective worked with Pam's
Yeah.
class because we're taking
Right.
a psychic detective class, which I'll probably take until the day I die because it's just
Me too.
really my
Me
thing.
too.
So anyway, so I'm sitting there and I'm doing this session, and I hear a woman's voice say, "Who is that Native American?" And so I'm thinking, oh, well, maybe the perp is a Native American. So I just jotted it down. You know, I heard them say this. The perp was not Native American. The spirits will mess me up when I'm doing remote viewing. I've got to stop listening to them.
Yeah.
But he's talking about the Native American that comes through my freaking wall. So that's what, and it just, I heard it while I was doing a remote viewing. So apparently the Native American came through the wall again. So if you all don't believe me, but you can just watch, you know, like the song we did, don't believe me, just watch. We've got that video up. I've got it on my Instagram along with some other interesting videos, and you can see the faces. And this one, the video, you can slow it down yourself and slow it down and see the Native American face that is
Yeah.
looking right at me.
Yeah,
So
that one
really
was
creepy.
incredible. Yeah, that
It's
one
a
was
real creepy one.
yeah. And it was extremely detailed too. You could see the feather,
You can
everything. I mean,
see
there was no
the
denying it. Yeah.
feather hanging in his head. It's just,
Yeah.
and the glint in his eye, and he's like right here, he's looking right at me.
Yeah.
Yeah, but his head is small, you know. And what I tell them, like some of these spirits, they're pretty benign, you know, and some of them are friendly, some of them are nosy, some of them want to get in your business, and
Yes.
it gets annoying because you feel like you have no privacy. But some of them can be real tricksters and can be a problematic. And so, and I do have to deal with those problematic ones, but they don't, the worst thing you can ever do if you're feeling frightened about paranormal activity, don't be afraid of them. You know, it's like I told them, like, what, am I going to be scared of a flash of light, buddy? Come on. You're a flash of light. You're not corporal. I mean, I'm more concerned about 3D human beings who might have a gun to shoot me, you know, than you like making a sound in my ear that sounds like a gun. I'm like, come on, get over yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah.
You know, and it's interesting because you know, a lot of our experiences, especially when we do paranormal investigations, are usually the most talkative spirits are usually the more you know, the kinder ones, the ones that want to have a conversation. The negative ones will do things like what Julie's been experiencing, it like with the, you know, the here and there comments, and then the cocking of a gun.
Yeah, or
you.
you know, flashing. And you know,
Yeah.
there's a telepathic communication, and some people may experience this and think that they're going like losing their mind or something. It's very easy to feel that way, and like, where is this coming from? But there are telepath for people who are sensitive and who can receive these messages. There are telepathic communications, and they can come in the form of obscenities. You can get obscene, very obscene pictures that they can flash pictures that will trigger you, you know, and wherever your weakness is, there'll be pictures that will trigger you. They'll say things to you that are obscene. They'll say things to you that are threatening. So what do you do when things like that happen? Dayon, you tell us, what things like that happen, what's your go-to? What's the first response?
Well, you know, I always try to, like first take stock of, okay, why am I hearing this? What is happening? And, and if it is sort of that negative energy, then, you know, it's checking in with my protections. First, I do not try to, engage, you know, because it's just going to lead down a path.
And believe
So
me, because I have engaged with them and it goes nowhere and nowhere fast. So
yeah,
keep going.
it's literally like, yeah,
yeah,
it's like talking to a toddler that doesn't want to hear you.
oh,
So
it can get really. ridiculous. Okay, yeah, keep going.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I just keep strengthening my my protections, and with my protections, we talk about protections, and I often hear people say, oh, well, I have my guides watching me, or like watching over me, and it's nothing. A lot of time I hear people, and it's something, your protections are really what is personal to you, and what gives your protections the strength is your acknowledgement and your participation in it, and it's keeping that power strong. So it's strengthening your own inner power, and to keep those protections around. I know
Yeah.
you. Yeah, and I know you specifically have a wonderful, way that you protect yourself. So
I've got, yeah, and I'll say like things, and this is what I'm discovering. So, this has been going on for over a couple of years where I've been battling this. And it first started 2.5 years ago with some pretty significant burns on my back that I woke up with, that like there were 3 of them and looked very symbolic. And it was an attack. It was an entity attack. And for some reason, I'm prone to that sort of thing, and I've got my theories about why, and I get messages about why, and I have strong angelic protection. I have guide protection, but they're not just going to protect me. And a lot of people say, well, where are my guides? Why am I experiencing this? Or where are my guardians or my angels? Well, there's a lot, I think, that they do filter out and they help with, but they're not going to get it all, because we have to be empowered within ourselves to be able to take care of this ourselves. So across time, there's been a lot of experimentation. There's been a lot of things that I have done battling. But what I'm coming to the conclusion, and what is now giving me my greatest power, is my connection with God. So,
yes.
and it's not just like, oh, I believe in God. Oh, I pray
Out of
to
fear.
God.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
or even that, even just like the spiritual anesthetic that we can get into is like, oh God, and no, it's not like that. It's like God within me. So there's a light that exists in all of us, this inside your heart and your chest. When you tap into that, you tap into your own soul. And so I'm doing this practice, and I'm being guided and doing it and how to do it, and where I merge with God. And I know I've heard you talk about this before, Tavon, about merging with source, or your source. So for me, it's Father God. For you, it's source. It's my source. For someone, it may be Mother God. For someone, it's their higher power. Whatever you call it.
Yeah, or the oneness. Yeah, exactly.
Oneness, whatever you call it, whatever your conception is of it, is yours, but it's still all the same. It's the one, right? Yes. So that is big. And there's one prayer I say, and it's the only prayer I say. And this is what they're telling me is the only prayer I need to say. And that is the Lord's Prayer. And I do that frequently while I am merging. And here's another thing. When they start coming in, I'm learning it's like very no nonsense, very quick, no nonsense, flick it out. And so you can forcefully, instead of being passive and just letting this stuff like torment you, you just flick it out. And so, and I do that with energy. I do that with visualization, but mostly now I'm doing it with energy, because I have this energy. I'm able to do that. And just not putting up with it. No engagement. Right. No engagement. Get out and say it. You can say it internally. You don't have to say it out loud. Get out.
Right. And and it's and I say this all the time, is that we have a tendency just in our human nature to feel that that we are not active participants in our lives and in our own protection. So we look to other things a lot of the time, but we are eternal beings. All of us are eternal beings, and therefore we have the power to protect ourselves just as powerful as as our guides, and in fact even more powerful because it's coming from our heart space.
It's
And
coming from your own soul, right?
right,
An alignment with your
absolutely.
soul, alignment with
Which,
your own soul.
yeah, which is eternal. So you can take, take from that power, and know that no matter what it is, you can protect yourself. And I always say, what was it, one of my guides had said, and I'm not a sports person, which is why I'm probably going to say this wrong. It's not about defense, it's about offense. So your protections are not necessarily, okay, I'm protecting myself against all of these other things. It's more about being the force.
I
It's the
like that.
offense. Yeah, it's about being
Yeah.
the force, and everything else can, get out of your way.
You know what? My guides will play this song for me, and it's Imagine Dragons. My guides happen to love Imagine Dragons. They play a lot of Imagine
Me
Dragon songs
too.
for me.
We're
So
gonna
it's
get
the
along.
one, it's the one when they say better to be the hunter than the prey. And that's how they're training
Yes,
me to be offense,
the hunter.
is offense. So you want both. You've got your protections. You've got to make sure, and they point out and show me like the holes in my aura, and I just keep working and working to keep my boundaries strong, and it's for me, it's especially as a mediums don't have very strong boundaries because that's how we're able to communicate, but I'm keeping them strong. But the way I'm doing that is through the meditation, is the meditation and the prayer and the just sinking in and really breathing into my heart as part of it. But there's also some real psychological work that has to happen. So if you're a person and you are being bothered and you're being tormented by negative energy, okay, if you're a person, and it may be if you do things like drugs and alcohol, and you're in anger a lot, and you're in a lot of depression and negative emotions, you may have come from a background of trauma. A lot of people will report having these kind of experiences, right? So you're attracting these entities, and they feed off of you. But that's not just it. If you're thinking, oh, I'm so spiritual and I'm so bright and I'm so light and I have this relationship with my source, that doesn't mean you're not going to have problems like that. You know why?
Right.
Because they feed off of light. Not only do they feed off that, and it means it's like the greatest thrill. It's the greatest thing for them to be able to knock somebody off their pedestal, or to be able to throw someone off of their path, or to dim their light. So dark forces, why do they want you to have such a bright light? No, no.
Yeah.
So I'm telling you, and you don't have to believe me. People don't have to believe me, but I'm telling you, this has been my experience, because at one time I would have said, no, that's not true. But now I very personally and directly know that this is true. There is a battle. There is a battle. There is that tension. And so light needs to win. Light has to win, but light doesn't always win, because you just look at the world and see how overtaken that people are in this world with darkness. Look at the wars. Look what's happening, what happened in Israel, and what's happening in Gaza, what's happened in Syria, what's happening in Ukraine, what's happening in so many places, Myanmar, all these places around the world. It's dark. It's dark. So the best thing we can do is shine our light, and to get right and in alignment with our soul and God, and pray for peace.
Right.
And pray for peace. But it's not always that simple. Like Theon said, you've got to go on the offensive and protect yourself, and not just think, oh, I can just call Michael, guardian angel, and he's just going to take care of everything. Well, he may, but you also have to come into your own power and realize how powerful you are as a soul, as a spirit. You're no less powerful than a spirit guide or a guardian. You may not be an archangel, but you have power, because you are a divine spark from God, because you are a spiritual body. You are a soul who, and this is this thing you channeled, that I'm the embodiment, physical embodiment of light. You are the physical embodiment of light, and you have power. You have power. And so personal development, forgiveness in your 3D life, gratitude in your 3D life. These are the hard lessons that I'm getting. This is where I'm really trying to get.
Yeah.
And also looking into the dark corners of your own psyche and your own life.
Yes.
And understanding your triggers and why they're there, and then releasing them. And a lot of the ways that you release your triggers, guess what? You see forgiveness. There's somebody in your life you need to forgive, and that person could be yourself.
Absolutely.
So I'll get off my soapbox.
No, it's funny because no, but you're
Yeah.
right. And I go through that, and we all go through these periods of, okay, we're transitioning or, or leveling up or something like that. And you're on this high, and then, you get knocked down a couple of pegs and you think, oh my gosh, all of this for nothing. But, again, that's our human condition. Is to think that our happiness, our well-being is dependent on the outside world or others to make us happy. When we reflect on it, it's really a perception thing. It's how we perceive the world around us, which either makes us more powerful or weakens us. And again, perception is not a tangible thing. It's unique to ourselves. It's unique to our conditioning. And so when we clear through those programs and patterns that we have, then we start to really see the truth. And when we talk about people, about all the things that are going on in the world, and I noticed that a lot of people, they combat the negativity that goes on with more negativity, and wanting to fight. It isn't the way. And I know it sounds, because, and as Julie will tell you,
we like justice, and we like justice, but justice does not have to involve atrocities.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what's so important. Before I really started, owning my spiritual self, I was a very angry person. And I would have, I was very defensive about basically everything. And so it did take me a lot, but I'm here, and I've cleared a lot because of really taking a look at, why am I so angry? And why do I think having a negative conversation with a person is going to change their mind? It's not. Two negatives never make a positive. So if you truly want change and you want to see the world around you, in a better place or a more enlightened place, then you have to take a look at how you project out into the world.
Right.
And just
take
like,
responsibility for your own energy. And your responses to other people.
Yes. And forgive yourself for being human, because you are human. I used to go, if I wasn't all love and light every day, then I'm the opposite. That's how extreme we get. But that's just a part
duality.
of being human. Yeah,
that's duality.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so never, once you start, what do they call it? The parasitic thoughts. When the parasitic thoughts come in, I'm not good enough, or, oh, I made a mistake, so now everything's ruined. It isn't. You're always moving forward.
Send it out. Right. And send it out.
Let it go.
Send out those thoughts, because it's not you, and it's not who you are.
and be grateful that you acknowledged it. I mean, that's how, once you start adding more gratitude for the things that you are accomplishing, for even understanding that whatever you did was not aligned with who you are or what you want to be, then you've already won that battle. So, be easy. That's what I keep hearing lately, is be easy. Because I was always very what is it, very type A. Everything has to be like this. I mean, I'm very pattern oriented. And oh yeah, and if I wasn't in my pattern, then the whole world collapsed. But no, it doesn't. It's the ebbs and flows of being human and eternal at the same time.
Right.
And
And you know what? There's somebody that's going to hear this, that needs to hear this, because this is coming in pretty loud and clear. It's also about not having to be right all of the time.
Oh my gosh, yes.
There is, and it's, well, all right, this in my development, there's the woman who speaks to me. I don't know who they are. They're guides, they're guardians. I recognize their voices. She said, to be a humble servant. And I said, I strive to be a humble servant, because it's not easy to be humble sometimes, right? So you think about in your relationships, and you have to be right all the time, and you want to argue this point and argue that point and think you have all the answers. Well, guess what? Life has a funny way of knocking you down from that and helping you understand that you're not right all the time and you don't have all the answers. And to be humble,
yes,
and
live in truth about
who character strength. Being humble is a character strength, and being humble isn't about being passive, right? It's not about having low self-esteem. It's about understanding that we are all one.
Yes.
And so Theon's husband, my family members, we are all one, and they are right. They can be right.
Yes.
Yeah, right. You know what I mean? And you just think about all the arguments, whoever it is that needs to hear this, that you've had with a spouse or a loved one, are so unnecessary and have left you feeling how. And what a difference it would be just to be humble and to listen.
Absolutely.
And acknowledge that you're not always right. And maybe you're not right very often.
Yeah. And, and that's it. But that's the thing. What's always been important for me is living in truth. And when I say truth is be honest with yourself. Why am I trying to win an argument that is meaningless? And in a week, are you even going to remember that argument? I mean, it's silly. And even with my kids, I as a kid, I always had to be right. I was a know-it-all, and I also was like never honest with myself or other people. And I always tell my kids, I could have lied about the color of the sky. I could have, and when I was a kid, I would just lie. And so that as I got older and I saw how destructive that was, it's now sort of done the opposite for me, where I really detest lying to somebody that I care about, because it's not fair to them, or living any kind of lies within myself. It just adds more onto it. And like you were saying, like winning arguments, with my kids, I'm always like, if I'm wrong, I'm going to say I'm wrong, because for their own development, I don't want them to always think, their mother thinks that she's right when I know the difference. It's about listening to other people and not needing to be right, because when you approach something needing to be right, or then you're not actually trying to have a back and forth conversation with somebody.
Right. This is about ego.
Yeah,
This is about ego.
absolutely.
Right. And the bigger the ego, the further away you are from your self,
Truest self. Yeah,
who you
absolutely.
really are. And so here's a question I asked my students in one particular class that I would teach on I haven't taught this class in a while, but on personality theories. First day, they have to write a little essay. Who am I? And try that exercise sometime and see what comes out. And then ask yourself, is that really who I am?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I know, it's funny because that is a very complex statement and answer. If
Yeah.
you think about, to really write who you are in a paragraph. I would probably just shorten it by saying a contradiction.
I like that. She's a force of nature. I just call you a force of nature. Well, a lot of times the way these exercises turn out with college age students is they talk about their personality traits, right? Yeah. So their personality traits and what they like and who they love. So it's a lot of like the surface stuff, but it's very who you really are is very intangible, and it's difficult to put words to that. But what an interesting thought experiment, or even just to sit in meditation and focus on that mantra.
Yeah.
Who am I? Or I am.
Ooh, that would be, I would be there for a while in meditation, trying to figure that one out.
Because and so, so we're talking about all this like psychological stuff, and we're talking about personal development. Why are we talking about this? We're talking about it because we're talking about spiritual protection. Yeah. The best way I'm finding to keep dark forces at bay, to keep parasitic thoughts at bay, and sometimes you have to wonder, where do these parasitic thoughts come from? Okay, especially if you are telepathic and you shine a bright light, or you have other traumas that you're dealing with. Where are they really coming from? Best way is through this type of personal development. This is how you become resilient. This is how you become strong, not only with whatever life may throw you in the 3D world, but also in the more esoteric and the etheric realms. And this is where things can enter into your mind and occur in your life that will dampen your light. So it's not just about sage, or burning frankincense, which we all love that. And it's not just about our crystals or wearing your amulets. No, this is nice and it may make you feel better. And it's not just about calling on, Mother Mary or Jesus or like Buddha or whoever your high masters are. It may make you feel better, right? But the way to true resilience in the 3D world and in the spiritual world and protection is through psychological and personal development. And it's not easy. It is not easy. It is not easy, but it is well worth the traumas.
Yes.
that can come with that. It's well worth the effort to develop in that way. And so, yes, I have been on that path, and I have asked myself, what in hell are you thinking?
Yeah.
I'm going on this path.
Yeah. Because it's a painful path sometimes. I like really starting to shed some of those walls that you've had. Julie and I have come from a place of religion and social conditioning that has personally taken me a long time to sort of shed these things. And it is difficult and it's painful, but
it is so humiliating. It can
oh
be
my gosh, yes,
humiliating.
Yes, and
Yeah,
it could tear you down to the point where you feel almost raw. And
that's called the Dark Night. Yeah, but
yes,
then where do you go from there?
right.
It's
Well,
here's another Imagine Dragons. Tear me down and build me back up.
yeah.
Tear you down and build you back up.
But when you look at it after those dark nights, there's always that epiphany, that leveling up, that transition. So I always say
Yeah.
invite those in, and not to look at them as an attack. Again, it's not, you're not on the defense, you're on the offense. Look at it as, okay, so what is going on? So what is it that I needed to learn or understand through this?
Right.
Because there's
Right.
something that's making it difficult for me to move forward. So
Hang it.
what is
Hang
that
it.
thing?
Yeah. Preach
Yeah.
it, girl. Preach it. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Making meaning.
Yeah.
Making meaning so out of the challenges. You
Yeah.
know, if you think you're hexed, you think you're cursed, whatever it is that's going on, or you've got 3D people who are hounding the hell out of you. What? Yeah. There are things you got to do. You know, you got to take care of business if there's immediate threat. You've got to do what you can in the 3D world, you know, within reason, and reach out for help. Right? You got to do
Yeah.
that. When you get to the end of it, or when you get to a safe space, make them, where's the meaning? Where's the
Yeah.
purpose? How has this helped me, or how's this developed me? Or if you feel like it hasn't, I'm at the dredges of the pits of hell and I just don't even see the light, reach out for some help, because you're going to get to the other side of it. You're going to
Yeah.
get to the other side of it, and there will
Yes.
come
And
a point,
don't it, yeah, I
right,
was
where
just,
you can
yeah,
look back, and you can
right.
look back and say, you know what, this has made me, what, however it's made you, it may have made you physically stronger, spiritually stronger, psychologically stronger. It may have given you more appreciation for life. It may have brought you closer to God. Whatever may have happened, some positive outcome, that's what you're looking for. And this is what builds resilience.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we all
And
need a little resilience.
absolutely. And know that it's only temporary. It
Yeah.
nothing is
Forever.
forever. And
Yeah.
so it, and the quickest way to sort of get out of it is to take the emotion out of it, to take the the feeling that it is an attack, or something is wrong with you, or take all the emotion out of it, and then start to look at it in a constructive way when these
Right.
things come up, when these dark nights come up,
Right.
because yes, the feeling still remains, but you're not a victim. You're not a victim in this, and this
Yeah.
is and this
Yeah.
is for you to get more
You're a
to
survivor.
build yourself. Yes.
You're a survivor. Right. And you
Absolutely.
are strong. And you know, you're saying this about emotions. I'm so glad you mentioned that, because this is something else that I'm learning. And it's really coming home to me just in the past couple of months. True strength also lies in emotional regulation. It's
Yes.
emotional regulation. So it doesn't mean you push down your emotions. It doesn't mean you deny your emotions. It means you acknowledge these emotions. These emotions are giving you information about a situation. These emotions can give you a lot of information. Okay. And it's easy to become overwhelmed by them and let them take control. And when there's a center in your brain called the limbic system, and you have a little structure called the amygdala. When you get so hyped up on negative emotions, you just imagine how it's just firing, and it can overwhelm your whole brain and shut down this thinking part, the frontal lobe of your brain. It can shut it down. And this is when people can go into these rages and do things that they wouldn't normally do, or do things and not even remember it, because the mammalian brain, the old brain, has just taken over. So starting from a child is when we need to be teaching kids emotional regulation. So you acknowledge the emotion. What's the information this emotion is giving me? And now I'm going to be the adult, or the kid is going to be a more grown-up kid, right? And what are we going to do to resolve the situation without letting the emotions take over? Because you are not your emotions.
Right.
Your emotions are
Yeah.
information. You are
Yeah.
not your emotions. So
Yeah.
my guides like to flash Spock up at me because I can get lost in emotions. I can go in a rage, right, on certain things.
Yeah.
I'm getting so much better about that. And they flash Spock up because Spock is one of my favorite Star Trek characters. I'm like, why is he my favorite? And so I process a little bit. I said, you know why? It's because he has good emotional regulation. So Spock is part Vulcan and he's part human. So Vulcans are all into logic and they don't really express emotion. But what you don't know until you really understand Star Trek is that Vulcans have very, very deep emotions. And so they've had to learn to regulate them because they could just create disaster. So Spock is part human too. So he feels very, very deeply. And those emotions can come up sometimes with Spock, but he has a master at regulating emotions. And there's a lot to be said for that. So if people could regulate their emotions, would we have all this war?
Absolutely. And it's funny is I say this to my kids, they'll get upset or angry at somebody. And I'll say, okay, so what does you being angry do? It just stops you from coming to any kind of resolution or result.
Right.
So if you're angry and you want to get a result, then take the emotion out and then logically, and one thing I do pride myself on is that I do have this way of facing problems, whereas I don't automatically go right to the emotion. I'm always like, okay, so how are we going to fix this? So how is it going to work?
Right.
And
Problem solving, girl.
yeah, and that's always,
solving.
yeah. And I mean, of course I'm human. Sometimes I will get to that point, but for the most part, I will go right for that, the logical side. My brain works in a way that I'm always trying to figure out. And I love puzzles. So I automatically am drawn to that when but again, there's just some things that will just trigger us. And and in those times, okay, why am I being triggered? Make that a fun sort of practice is, okay, when I'm triggered, okay, what made me triggered? What really made me triggered? Like, where did that come from?
In my history, in
Right.
my history.
Yes.
It's
Oh, I do that all the
meditate
time.
on. Good thing to meditate on and just ask God, ask your higher power, show me. And that memory will come up. And when that
Oh my
memory
gosh.
comes up, then that's where you do the work and you do
the
self,
healing.
do the forgiveness and forgiving yourself and forgiving whoever else and send them on their way. Because I guarantee there's another person involved here. Give them a rose, give them whatever, put them in a bubble, send them up to God and let God worry about it. Right. And then bring yourself back into your own heart and forgive yourself.
Yeah. And it's so funny is as much work as you do, there's always those little triggers. I was telling somebody recently about this where I for a while there I had problems really talking in public. I was very shy. I mean, to the point where it was painful. And so I would think, why am I like this? And recently, like a couple months ago, that shy person, I could feel it come up and I almost couldn't speak. And I was like, where did that come from? I thought I healed that. And I went into meditation and I said, I basically just said, show me where this began. And it shot me right to an instance where I was a very hyper kid. I was the youngest of 5 kids. So I had one of my siblings, or actually most of my siblings at the time, because I was very loud, say to me, stop talking. Nobody wants to hear you do that. Right. And and I was like, oh, and so I was like, I didn't even think it affected me, but it did. And I began sort of like, being self-conscious of, oh, my tone, or, and then, so I would regulate myself so much that I couldn't even speak. And so, it's funny is like, now that I went back to that self, and I said to my younger self, my child self, that it's okay, that was a temporary thing. Your siblings, they were kids too. We were all kids, so you have to forgive that. And I mean, and it was a moment. It wasn't my whole life. So, but it's funny how those things we don't realize
Mhm.
really affect us. And we go on our lives with all this baggage, and
Mhm.
some of it's so unnecessary, just
Right.
for misunderstanding. So, you know um and that's why it's important. It may feel painful, but follow that trail of where it stems from,
Mhm.
and you're gonna see
And then
that. Yes.
forgive, and bring your own self, your own child self back into your own heart and
Yes.
love yourself. I
Yeah.
mean,
We
literally put love into yourself.
Yeah, and we do practices like that, where I we go back to our younger selves, and give them love and nurture
Love.
them, and to points in our lives where we felt some major transition. Maybe your parents were getting divorced, or
Right.
or something like that, right? And then you
Yeah.
just love that younger version of
Open
you,
your
and you
heart. You
yeah,
open your heart to yourself and literally feel your
yeah,
heart open, and
yeah.
breathe into your heart. Breathe in and out of your heart and imagine yourself at whatever age you were there, and just bring back into your heart. It's a
Yes.
part of you that's been fragmented, and it's time to bring that part back so that you are
Yes.
more whole,
Absolutely.
if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
No, it makes
Yeah.
perfect sense, and it's true. You're completely right. Is we have that tendency to continue looking outward, and almost sometimes there's a fear of really pulling back the curtains on yourself. But you know I personally felt the same way, but as I began these practices, it really opened me up to who I am. And now I'm constantly finding things that that I will say, oh my gosh, I can't believe I used to think that. Right? And I and you
Or
see
that
how
I
much you've
did
grown.
that. I can't believe, oh
Yes.
my God, I did that. And then
Yeah.
feel, that shame. But see, then when you start feeling shame, you
Yeah.
got to go back and heal that too, and bury the
Yeah.
shame, because we
Yeah.
are not here to live in shame. We
Yeah.
are here to live
Absolutely.
in light and
Yeah.
happiness.
And it's okay to like go back and say, okay, why, I can't believe I did this, because look at me now, like I've look how much you've grown. And as much as we think we also have a tendency not to pat ourselves on the back when it's necessary, to say, look, I did all these wonderful things and I'm proud of myself.
Mm.
And that is not and that is not being like an egomaniac or anything. I'm just saying to to pride yourself on the little victories, and the good things that you do, because when you start adding that more positive, more loving, more nurturing voice, then that parasitic voice really doesn't
Mhm.
speak up as much,
Right.
and then eventually gone.
And this is
So
really where it's at. If I think one day I'll probably do a class on protection, on spiritual protection, personal protection, protection for empaths. And honestly, more important than calling on your archangels or your guardians, or more important than burning sage or frankincense or whatever it is you burn. And we love our crystals, but even more important than wearing your crystals is personal development, emotional development, psychological development. not being afraid to look into the dark corners of your mind and your life and healing yourself. And when you get on this path and you make a commitment, guess what? It's going to happen. It's going to find you. And either you're going to rise up and you're going to do it, or you're going to go into a dark night and have a hard time getting back up again. But you can get up again and you can do it. And then this is how you make your light shine brighter. And this is how you keep those dark forces at bay. And it's not just about, a lot of my issues are with this, other dimensional issues. For some people, it's 3D people, because, people, you know what I mean?
People can be people.
People.
Yeah.
and dark forces can also use people to their ends to try to knock you down or to try to dim your light.
Yeah.
Right. But you can,
Yeah.
you can stand up to that, and you can, but it's personal development, man. That's where it's at.
Yeah. I always say, treat people like you're talking to God, because you are. You're talking to the oneness. You're talking to God, right? And so
that's hard sometimes to stay on.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And are you kidding me?
Are you kidding me? That is hard.
But I love doing these things. So I try to remember that in my everyday life, and including myself. I have to know that, I'm just as much, part of this oneness, a part of the machine, which is, this
Right.
existence,
and
how I affect other people.
Yeah. And seeing too, here's the thing. Not everyone is awake. So, there's a lot of people who are not aware, who are not awake, who are still asleep, and they're behaving more from the animal brain. Okay. They are behaving from a place of not being enlightened. So does it mean that we dislike them or that we shun them? No. Yeah. No, you shine your light. You shine your light. And don't react to anger with anger. Don't react to fear with fear. Don't react in a way that it's going to bring you back down to that, state of what's the word I'm trying to say? Of unawareness, not being awake, a state that is not love.
Of ignorance. Yeah.
Of ignorance and a lack of love. So it's forgiveness and understanding people are where they are, and that you can be an example.
Absolutely. And
in your reactions to their negativity.
Absolutely. And what was hard for me is, I always want to help people. And so I'll see somebody and I'll like that is just, doing stuff that really is.
You and I have had these conversations before because And you got to be careful too, though. You still have to be careful.
Oh, absolutely. And that's what I want to say is what I really have been understanding is there's this this saying, how everybody always says nobody's perfect, but in a sense, we're all perfect. We're all perfect in again, it's all perception. What is perfection? It is a perception of what we think is perfect, right? So therefore, whether I am what I feel is right and that person is wrong, it's still a perception. And I don't have to try to change them. I don't have to try to I don't have to try to love them or give them too much of my light. I just have to acknowledge them and understand that in their own perception, they have they are valid. And
respect.
It is respect. Absolutely. Right. And I, and that's not to say that, I'm just going to allow somebody to verbally or physically attack somebody, like, for example. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying
put yourself in a position where you could be. So
right.
That's again, non-engagement. Non-engagement is not just for the spiritual world. Non-engagement is with the people world too.
Yeah. And what I do is, okay, so I go through the scenario
if you feel there may be a threat. If you feel there may be a threat.
Absolutely.
Right.
If you obviously, and yeah, you definitely don't want to, uh, be passive to a threat like that, of course.
You
You're
don't want to
right.
be wide open, and you got to keep those
No.
boundaries up and listen
Yeah.
to
And
yourself.
it's about, taking that moment, and it's not like sitting there for an hour trying to with everything that you do and try to overthink it. But what I'm saying is that give it some thought. Like if you're you see somebody that is being incredibly irritating or triggering, how would that scenario go? What do I want to do? I want to confront them and I want to say they were this horrible whatever. What will happen to that? What will the end result be? Will there be a positive outcome? If you then that's how you have to sort of engage it. It is about preserving your environment, yourself, and engaging somebody in some sort of negative confrontation is not just, you didn't win anything. In fact, you've just added some negative energy onto yourself.
Right.
So it's understanding, and what I love to do is I like to understand. I'll look at somebody that has done, and Julie and I both do psychic detective work, so we handle a lot of situations that are that have to do with murders and very vicious scenarios. And maybe this is why we like it so much, because it's like, okay, what brings somebody to this point? And I look at it without the emotions, and which has been helpful, because otherwise I'd be crying constantly with some of the things that we have to see and hear. But why did what was the purpose of that? What was the purpose for that person? And I try to understand its place within, I guess, the oneness, and it within the cause and effect, or I like to call it the butterfly effect, because I feel that everything is sort of a butterfly effect. Whatever I do is, affects the oneness, just like everything else. So I will sit there and we'll kind of go, okay, so why did this person, do this? And in a more constructive way, rather than a, emotional way. And it does help you understand the world around you. You don't have to dissect a serial killer or anything, but I'm just saying, like, trying to get into the understanding of how they could get there. Let's say somebody it has a different point of view than you, and it infuriates you. Well, okay, so
That's about
maybe.
you. That's about
Huh?
you. That's about you, not the other person.
Yes.
You're infuriated by something. That's about you, and you need to do
Yep.
some self-examination, because
Absolutely.
that is not humility. It's not intellectual humility, and that's not coming from a place of empathy. And that's what being an empath, for people who believe they're an empath, is all about. Try seeing through the eyes of another person
Absolutely.
and understand
Absolutely.
them better, instead of just being intolerant.
Yeah, absolutely. What's funny is we were going to do readings tonight. And I love talking to you. You and I get into some
Well,
of the
no
best.
one has asked for a reading.
Yeah. So oh yeah. But for next week we're definitely gonna do readings and things. But I just thought this was a great conversation to have, especially right before the holidays.
Yeah.
And when it can be a very triggering time for people. I mean, this is a time where there's a lot of frustration in the air, and especially with what's going on. It can be a tough time. And really what Julie and I are trying to say is that we don't have to live within the emotion of it. We can if we take that emotion out, and really evaluate a situation, it becomes less threatening to us, and it becomes easier to traverse. So
Understand where your triggers originate from, and that's not hard to do.
yeah,
All you do is
no,
call up a memory and it'll come up.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah. Where did this start? And then just sit there and wait, and you'll
and
see.
forgive. And if you can, like you said, try to step into the other person's shoes through their eyes. And sometimes this is really hard, especially if you've been victimized,
Yeah.
or especially if you're a child who's been victimized, that might be a little tough to do. But what you can do is bring that child you back into your heart and release that other person, because the longer you hold on to it, the heavier it gets. Give it to God, bring yourself in, get some therapy, because the therapist can really help with things like that. So when we start going into that real heavy stuff, therapy can help. But then we have the other things that are a little more benign, like I'm saying benign. I mean, it's not like being molested as a child when you have your sister saying nobody wants to hear what you say.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
You can probably
but
look back at that now and laugh at that.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
it
absolutely.
created a trigger for you. It still created.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I've also had very traumatic instances within my life that but I took me years to work on that, which is why I was so angry.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely. So, for anybody that has had severe traumas in their lives as a child and had, been assaulted and things like that, I will say, coming from that place and then being where I am now is definitely tells you that it's possible, that you could see the world differently and not live within your trauma and not live within those things. And if
grow.
Yeah. And if my right. And I was just gonna say, and if
traumatic growth is a thing.
Yeah.
It's not just post-traumatic disorder anymore. There's also a diagnosis called post-traumatic growth. So you can experience that. You can experience that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And and you don't always have to wear that as a as a badge or as this sort of wall around you. At this point, as you do the work, you're going to see it does change. It does change your perspective. And again, it's about perspective and coming from those places, it is difficult. And I definitely understand that, but I also am here to say that it is, it is possible. It is possible to transcend that. So
because you are a powerful human being, a powerful spiritual being, and your soul is a fragment of God.
Absolutely.
So let's line up. Let's line up and get her done. Line up exactly. So
I know.
This brings me back to Scrooge, back to A Christmas Carol. So my favorite movie. So everything we've been talking about can be very reflective of A Christmas Carol, because what did Ebenezer Scrooge do? First, he had to go back into his past with the ghost of Christmas past. Right. And then he was in the present, the ghost of the present. And then when he went into the future and saw where all this was leading, he was a changed man after that. He was a changed man, and he forgave himself, and he brought himself back into his own heart, and he opened his heart. And then it was about kindness and being a kind man instead of a Scrooge. And that's why I love that movie. That's why I love that story. And it just fits right in with everything we've been talking about.
I love that. And we have to watch it. I'm going to visit Julie on Friday.
It was the paranormal. It was paranormal that did that for him. Just like it's the paranormal that does that for me.
Yeah, exactly. And again, for us, there is no para in our normal.
No,
so
we're just normal. It's just normal.
Is just normal for us.
Pair is PAIR, because Thayan and I are a pair of like awesome friends. We're sisters, soul sisters.
I know. And I'm going to visit her on Friday. So we're going to have so much fun.
Well, and I'm going to go to the Edgar Cayce Research and Enlightenment Center in Virginia Beach.
Yes.
On Friday.
And we'll be doing
a psychic fair.
Yes, in North Carolina.
in North Carolina.
Goldsboro.
Yeah,
Yep.
Goldsboro on Saturday and see another friend of ours. And then
Yes. So
Sunday.
if you're in the area, definitely come and we'll give you a reading.
Yeah, and this will be Theon's first trip to Edgar Casey's research. Wait, how do you say it? Research and
Edgar.
Alliance Center.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm
It's
so
cool.
excited. I can't
Yeah.
wait. And
Right on the
I
beach. Right on the
really,
beach. Yeah.
I
There's a
can't wait.
meditation room you're gonna love. And we
Really?
can go in there and we can meditate. And they've got these crystals. And I know you love crystals that are like 4 feet tall.
I heard about them.
Yeah,
Okay.
they are amazing.
Oh, I'll be there. We'll be there all day.
Yeah. I didn't even talk about my UFO experiences, but we've got plenty of time. We can talk about those.
Yeah.
Actually,
Absolutely.
when you come down, we might see some UFOs.
Yes, we're gonna go UFO hunting.
Right. We don't call them UAPs because that's a government thing.
Yeah.
It's a UFO.
Yeah.
Or it's a flying object, or it's a
Yeah.
freaking spacecraft.
Exactly.
Call it what it is.
Exactly. And I'm just so excited because Julie lives in an area where it's nice and she can actually see the stars. Here in Florida, you don't so much.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're going to be doing just like when I was 10 years old, and my friend and I we would almost every night, like we would spend the night at each other's house, and we would just sit up on the roof and wait to meet some aliens.
Yeah.
Hopefully Julie and I will do that. We'll sit on her roof and do the same thing.
Yep. So everybody can hit us up on Evolve Me, right?
Yes.
So I offer intuitive life coaching. I have a PhD in psychology, and I've been a psychology professor for, oh my gosh, 18 years, I think. And so I'm not a licensed therapist, but I do blend the psychic work with what I know about life coaching to help people on their path. And I also offer regular readings, just general readings and healings. And also paranormal activity consultant. I can, if you're being bothered by such things and you think you're crazy or other people think you're crazy, just call me, because I won't think you're and I don't like using the word crazy, but I'm using that loosely. I won't, because I've experienced so much myself, and I have really gathered some tools along the way that I can help people with that, and also just read into their situation. So these are things that I lovingly offer.
Awesome. Absolutely. And definitely Julie is the go-to for all things paranormal. So absolutely. And I, of course, offer readings, mentorships. I also do intuitive development groups and remote viewing groups. And yeah, and I'm also on Evolve Me. But if you are in what is it, Goldsboro, North Carolina.
North Carolina.
Yeah.
And we're going to be at
Saturday.
some community center. Where are we going to be? A community center.
We probably should have known that.
Community center.
Yeah. If you're going to be in
address.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely swing by and we'll give you a reading. And we'll Julie and I are going to
and they're free. All the readings at the Psychic Fair are free. So we're just doing 15-minute sampler readings, but you can get a lot done in 15 minutes.
Absolutely. And in fact, I love those readings, because that's when spirit wants to just throw in everything. So it becomes a fast reading.
Keep it.
Yeah.
It's good to come in with a question and just like look at the question for 15 minutes.
Absolutely. And if we love it, we're going to start, Julie and I are going to start doing our own little tour, our reading tour.
Oh gosh, you should say something about the retreat.
I was just gonna say, yes. In April.
I love the promos you're doing for that. They're just cool.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so we're I'm actually going to be working with Deborah Lynn Katz from International Remote Viewing Association, and of course her school International School for Clairvoyance.
Yeah. And
where we went to.
Author of several books, including You Are Psychic. So if you want to develop your intuition, that's a good book to check out. Deborah Lynn Katz.
I
Ooh,
always recommend that
yeah,
to my new students, everything.
yeah.
And also we're going to be working with Josh from Hope
Josh,
Paranormal. Yes.
Josh, yeah,
Yeah.
Hope
And
Paranormal.
I know it's going to be exciting. We're going to be doing it's in April in St. Augustine, and it's going to be the ultimate paranormal experience. It's an intuitive development retreat. We're going to be doing paranormal investigations. I'm going to be doing an intuitive ghost tour, and intuitive development practices, mediumship. We're going to be doing seance. A lot of incredible, it's going to be a nonstop weekend of just pure intuitive development
It's an
and
immersive experience.
oh yes, and
Immersive
it,
experience.
yeah, especially anything with Deborah and
And
Julie and
Josh,
I,
and
yeah, and
yeah,
is going to be just
I'll
um
be there. I will be
of
there because
experience.
you're gonna be Batman and I'm gonna be Robin.
Oh, well, no, we're going to be the Wonder Twins, actually. So,
Oh, okay.
um,
Or Charlie's Angels. No,
yes.
okay. I'm getting
Oh,
them.
with Pam. If
With
Pam,
Pam, Sweeney
we're gonna
Pam.
have to ask Pam to come. So we're gonna
Yeah,
make Pam
yeah.
come. Yeah, she doesn't live far, so we'll have her
No,
go.
not really. Not
Yay.
at all, really.
Yeah, and she's gonna be actually Pam is gonna be in Lilydale the 21st of April. So
Oh,
yeah, so maybe we can make her swing. Well, she lives nearby.
oh, that's gonna be a
So
lot of traveling. Oh,
yeah, but that's okay. We're gonna still do it. I'm
okay.
going. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and but still, yeah, so definitely check out. I did post a preview to it on Evolve Me on our on the Evolve Me site. But stay tuned for more details on the registration for the Ultimate Paranormal Experience Retreat. And definitely check Julie and I out, and our myriad of services. And if you have any questions or paranormal questions, or have any stories, I do. I think in the coming weeks we're going to start having near-death experiences, past life, I want to say remember, what is it called? When you I know a few people that
Regression
have
or
not a progression, recollection. Um,
recollection. Oh,
yeah, a past life. There's I have a few people that have interesting stories. So I'm getting them
oh,
coming up
wow.
here in the
Oh,
next
that
couple
will
of
be
weeks.
fun. Yeah, that will be interesting.
Yes. Absolutely. So definitely stick around. And next week we will be doing readings. So I apologize.
Well, I
I
mean, we were doing them tonight, but you have to ask for it to get it. So
that
nobody
I
wants
know, but
to.
I forgot to mention it a
Oh,
lot. I said it
oh,
quickly in the beginning, but we never that's
oh, okay. Okay.
okay.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. We've got to keep mentioning it. So yeah, we'll do that more. But I think we had a very valuable. I mean, we said some things we needed to say. So
Yes, and I'm sure that whoever is hearing this definitely needed it today. So
yeah.
we thank you all for being a part of this, and can't wait to see you all next week. Thank you all.
Bye.
Bye.